everybody. My name is Shahila Heron, and for the next 14 to 15 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about what it means to build a supportive community culture, a culture within the context of a rehabilitative environment. Specifically working with people who may be experiencing a mental diagnosis or a mental illness, whether that's a formal diagnosis they have or if they're just experiencing some disorder in their lives. How do we build this community culture that's supportive of them through their growing and becoming process? Specifically, we'll be addressing how to build this culture using the Senegalese way of Teranga. Senegalese way meaning a way of thinking, believing, and then acting. Here we go. Teranga is a Wolof word that could be understood through a word blend of hospitality, respect, and solidarity. Like in many languages, the full meaning of the word cannot be translated into English using just a word or just a few words like so. So we will break Teranga down by explaining its thought position, how it is practiced, and bring in some supporting psychological and sociological literature. Here is some cultural background of the word Teranga. Senegal became known as the country of Teranga during the presidential service of Leopold Senghor, the first president of Senegal. After Senegal gained its independence from the French in 1960, there remained various ethnic groups around the country who held different beliefs. So Senegal was in the perfect new political position where Leopold saw the need to promote hospitality and social cohesion. I personally believe that Leopold Senghor, is a notable leader because he freely expressed his personal values of what it means to be a unified nation, and particularly as an African people. And he was pretty successful because today, around the world, we see Senegalese repping their country. A brother in Harlem just opened a restaurant called Teranga, where he's serving a variety of different African cuisines. We also see a lot of Senegalese music artists such as
Yamma. Là-bas je suis un tout-bas, ici je ne suis qu'un négro. Là-bas je suis un tout-bas, ici je ne suis qu'un négro. Blessé dans mon ego, mes origines se ressentent. À chaque battement mon cœur le chante.
Teranga recognizes society as the sum of its individual life forces. So any neglect to one individual is a neglect to all. Now, specifically in Wolof education, this sum is called the sum of society, and the sum of the individual life forces would be called vital force. And in more Western philosophy, you may recognize this as each individual's intrinsic value, intrinsic worth. In Senegalese culture, this intrinsic value is nurtured through rituals of inclusion. For example, shared eating. Mealtimes are for family and friends to congregate and share. In Senegal, you may see the communal bowl, which symbolizes unity. You'll see up to 8 people sharing food from the bowl. And for the same, this can be exemplified within a rehabilitative setting, where maybe everybody in the community eats at a round table to symbolize togetherness. Also in Senegalese culture, we see community celebrations where the whole community will gather for special occasions and ceremonies that mark a point of transition in an individual's life, such as a naming ceremony, a becoming of age ceremony, marriage, or graduation. One of the best types of gifts that a person can bring is their words of blessings for the future of the individual. These celebrations are seen as points in time that mark the accumulation of experience and wisdom, which again reaffirms the individual's importance in the society, while encouraging them to remain giving and sharing their accumulated wisdom with the rest of society. So to start our working definition of Teranga, the spirit of Teranga encourages one to welcome guests into your personal space, initiating a permanent quest for social cohesion. At the root, Teranga means a part of a body, the legs, arms, feet, the head, or a portion of a whole that resulted from division. So this reaffirms that we as a people are a part of each other, and even more so, we are better off when closely connected, like a body. Ter, a noun, means a portion owed to a person by right. Terrell, a verb, means to reassure a stranger of the safety of a place in which he or she has just arrived. So making someone feel welcome by establishing a place of safety and a sense of belonging. The overarching goal is to establish good human and social relationships because we as a society function to our full potential when working together. Or as we say, there's no I in team. So, before we finish our working definition of Teranga, let's further define social cohesion as a science using Western literature. We already know that in Wolof education, individuals are seen as a part of a whole, as the sum of a vital force. This places each individual in situations of both giving and receiving, because each member has their own specific duty, and any neglect of the social exchange negatively impacts society. Just like if the head was trying to do what the feet does, or if the stomach got jealous of the arm and decided they wanted to do an arm's job. It wouldn't work out very well. So when everyone is doing their job, we call this social cohesion. Social cohesion can be addressed from the micro, meso, and macro levels of society. It's important to note that the micro level feeds into the macro level. So in order to build a cohesive society, we have to start individually from person to person. And that will then feed up into larger systems that we have in face, such as legal systems and the prison system and judicial systems. Social cohesion, all the way up to the macro level, can be defined as the willingness of members of a society to cooperate with one another in order to survive and prosper. Now, willingness meaning people are not giving to one another out of obligation. Rather, people are giving because they know that in the future they'll be accounted for. So, take a look at this diagram of the ideal socially cohesive society. As people freely give and cooperate with one another, they are building shared meanings and cultural capital that is inclusive. Therefore, our social outcomes are being equally distributed. So people have an incentive, so to speak, that when they're giving, they're not losing anything. And giving of oneself can be expressed in a number of ways. Simply lending a neighbor a lawnmower, being a hockey coach, paying school taxes even if you don't have kids, or taking time to connect with a friendly person on the street who may or may not be homeless. It is a fact that a society that is highly socially cohesive produces better social outcomes and a more equitable distribution. A few other main points to note about social cohesion is that it is welcoming of diversity. So this does not include having shared values or conformity among a community. Instead, people are welcoming to one another who are totally different. Within Senegalese culture, Teranga holds a specific weight that encourages others to welcome people who aren't like them, to welcome guests, and people who may even seem a little weird at first. So within the context of a rehabilitative center or rehabilitative environment, we want to make sure that providers and mental health personnel are very welcoming to the people who they're serving. If somebody's acting out a certain day, or if somebody's different, they may sing if somebody sings when they walk. If somebody tends to sing when they walk, if they tend to wear a lot of clothes, or if they just like their food cooked a certain way that may seem a little weird to you, Teranga is a word used to say, no, we welcome these differences and we're not going to judge you according to that. Another thing about social cohesion is that it takes into consideration capacity to operate. So each individual has a unique intrinsic worth that is a part of a vital force. So when we cooperate with one another, we are giving what we can give best of ourselves. As I mentioned, the leg doesn't do what an arm does, or the foot doesn't do what a stomach does. When we each express our own unique value, we can then avoid burnout. So within a rehabilitative setting, if we're doing what we do best, if everybody's giving of their best selves, there's no need for social workers to burn out. There is no I am team because you need everyone to win. So to finish our definition of Teranga, the spirit of Teranga welcomes guests near, initiating a permanent quest for social cohesion, which then initiates progressive adjustments in individual behavior, which provides a person with a stable sense of socio-cultural identity. So, what does the act of Teranga look like? How is it expressed within a mental health crisis situation? Let's take a look at this video filmed in Benin, West Africa, at one of the only psychiatric care facilities. Specifically, I would like you to take note of the tension that arises within this community, and then how Gregory, the facility director, subdues the tension. What tactics does he use? Is it planned, or is it first nature, second nature? And then also think about the internal dialogue that's going on, the internal thoughts that's going on when they interact with each other. All right, here we go.
Passer au centre lorsqu'elles ne peuvent plus prendre en charge leurs proches. Malgré leur bonne volonté, les personnels soignants et les bénévoles sont souvent bien démunis et les moyens dérisoires pour apaiser et traiter les malades.
That's Gregory with the green shirt.
Dans beaucoup de nos
What I loved about the last exchange we saw was the human connection that was expressed between the community members. We saw how all the community members surrounded the situation as a leverage of support. And most importantly, we saw Gregory physically touch the upset community member, and he spoke to him on a personal level. His tone was endearing and intimate, which instantly caused the gentleman to gain back control. So an environment that embodies the values found within the Senegalese way of Teranga would be one that's very conducive for people who are experiencing a mental illness in their lives or a crisis, right? Because they need that understanding. They need to feel understood, to know that there's still somebody inside them that's worth pursuing. And I do believe that this type of community culture, or supportive community culture, is first embodied by the service provider personnel. That's why we're there. We're there to provide a service. Thank you so much for viewing this training module about what it means to build a supportive rehabilitative culture using the Senegalese way of Teranga. When we remember that each person holds spiritual significance and that each plays an important role in the world, it becomes easier to interact and include others who are not like us. It is my hope that the words and examples used inspired an intentional and intimate way of interacting with those around us that aid in the sustainment of mental health. So lastly, if this video inspired you at all and in any way, please leave me some feedback and let me know. Other than that, Hotep, peace. A culture within a rehabilitative setting. I don't want to go that far though, okay? Well, I do, but y'all may not be ready for that. Later, we'll get there. So at the root of the word, Teranga recognizes Teranga. I speak French, So I don't think it's Teranga, it's Teranga. 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 Okay, I like that. That was nice.
Blessé dans mon ego, mes origines te ressemblent. À chaque battement, mon cœur le chante. Marche sur les champs en claquettes, happy qui me traîne en teddy. À mes ancêtres tirailleurs, ma situation je dédie. Les marabouts ont prédit, va savoir j'y donne du crédit. Ligue, danke, khalis, leggy. Je reçois des news du bled du écran.